And I think audiences are suffering from what's been coming out of Hollywood for the last decade or so. The idea of going out and spending 2-3 years to raise the money for a movie and develop it and package it and put it together and then to present it to an audience that's in the business of scrolling up every couple of seconds. That's their attention span. That's the way of life.
Yep.
And to then make it, here's our 2-hour presentation after 3-4 years. It doesn't really align with our culture. And I think that's where Hollywood is finding itself in a very difficult state right now, along with the fact that they're not presenting projects that demand our attention.
I have Ryan joining me on this interview to talk about a project that he's working on. It's Paso Verse, and it's much more than a metaverse. It's immersing yourself in a story and being a part of it. And there's so much to this. I absolutely love what I'm hearing so far, and this experience is going to I think really evolve that space of engaging with a brand new community and whatever you're building out there. And we're going to learn all about what Paso Verse is and everything that Ryan is trying to build around it. So Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for that. I'm happy to be here. Nice to meet you, Peter.
So I'd like to learn a little bit about your background. I've dug in a little bit, and you have quite a career in the film and storytelling space. Can you give us a little bit of a background of how you got to where you are now?
Well, I'll give it my best. I'll try to keep it brief. I've kind of given up trying to tell my story. Many people have tried over the years, and one day maybe it'll be told correctly. So I actually surrendered that to a group of filmmakers that's making a documentary about my life, and they've been following me now for the last 5-6 years, which is a little bit daunting because you give up a lot of control and you just don't know how you're going to be perceived. So sooner or later I'll get to see a reflection of what I said and thought all those years. So look, I went to Hollywood as a 23-year-old, and I went there as an actor who wanted to star in his own movies. And I had to overcome a lot of things. I was the underdog from day one. I was a total foreigner. I had to be able to improve my accent to be able to compete as a leading man in American movies. And I had to get a work visa or a student visa to stay there and be able to finance my life to kind of go about it. And entertainment is a business that it's very difficult with gatekeeping. It's hard to get in. It's hard to meet people. It's one of the toughest businesses in the world, second to maybe politics, which I never had any ambitions of, thankfully. So it was, I came there as a total unknown, full of ambition, and began pursuing my goals. And many people laughed at me and thought I was crazy to think that I can come in as a foreigner and become a leading man in my own franchise. And I also said at some point that I was going to take my company public on the stock exchange, and they kind of laughed at that and put it in the newspaper and made fun of me. And if you fast forward 5-6 years, indeed, my first company did go public on the stock exchange. At that point, I had 70 shareholders. It had an initial valuation of over 100 million. And finally, all the investment banks was backing the project, and the studio was behind it. And we had raised significant financing. We had the A-list community backing the project. And I basically returned to what was my original purpose and vision in all this, which was to play the lead role in the movie. And at that point, I was so tired of running the business and being on the front line, basically a one-man effort for many years, because when you have money and success and things are going well, you have a lot of people around you that want to be part of it. And then when things are not going so well, you find yourself pretty alone and people kind of, separate. So there was many phases where I was pretty much alone and no one was around to kind of see the work that was being done. And during that time, it would have been perfect to build it in public and really show what was involved, because it was just day and night for basically a decade. So that kind of culminated with me saying, I don't want to be doing this one-on-one anymore. I don't want to be spending 2-3 hours updating every single person that's involved. And I stepped basically away from running of the company, and I let other people run it. And at that point, I said, I'm just going to work on the creative, which had been my motivation all along. And then found myself 9 months after going public, leaving my own company. And it was a very hard lesson in many, many ways. And I left the company and basically had to have a long think about what I thought about all this. So,
yeah, first off, spending time building a company or building anything and pouring all your time and energy and passion into it, and then having to leave it. How did you feel at that point to make that decision and walk away?
it was very hard. And I was a bit naive to all this. I thought that because along the way you meet so many people, and when people believe in your vision and your dream, I felt obligated to believe in them as well. And I welcomed basically everyone in, and I wasn't aware that there could be any other agendas. I thought we were all building this into the future. And we were heading, the goal was to build $1 billion company. There was no question of that. And we were just on the way. And one mistake I made is I let my shareholders have voting rights, and I had protected them from dilution and diluted myself to the point that I only owned about 30% of the company, and found myself in proxy wars. And it was just not a place I wanted to be. But looking back on this, I can see that this has happened to a lot of entrepreneurs when they hit that kind of success and get to a point. It's not surprising that all these forces come in when the value is there, when the public interest is there, and suddenly everyone can kind of see very clearly what this can be. There's a lot of people interested in it, and it didn't align with my interest at the time. So it was a difficult experience that I would have liked to have been without, but I certainly learned a lot, and I learned a lot of things that I will not repeat.
It's all a learning experience, and hopefully we grow from all those as well, and make better decisions and build some better projects in the future. And that probably leads us on to our Paso Verse and the idea and stories behind this. Can you explain what this actually is and how you came up with this concept?
Well, spending all those years in Hollywood and also with investment bankers around the world, and I probably spent too many years with investment bankers, and they were probably the only ones that kind of understood what I was talking about, but they were not capable of relaying the investment to their clients. I saw that as well. So and I also saw all the challenges in Hollywood where it's easy to get involved in the trying to appease investors with the sake of adding names that they think reduce the risk and add credibility. And if you go too far down that road, you end up giving up a lot of creative choices and a lot of important decision making that gets diluted to a creative committee. And if you have a creative committee, you can't make good creative decisions. And this underscores what's wrong with Hollywood today. There's very little appetite for risk taking in the major studios, because the people that have gotten to those positions have worked their way up and they have everything to lose by believing in something new. And instead they end up greenlighting sequels and projects that other people believe in, and things get greenlit for all the wrong reasons. So it underscored a lot of the experience that I went through, underscored a lot of experiences and eye-opening things that needs to be addressed in my view. I think audiences are suffering from what's been coming out of Hollywood for the last decade or so, and it's become almost irrelevant. And to now have to go, the idea of going out and spending 2-3 years to raise the money for a movie and develop it and package it and put it together, and then to present it to an audience that's in the business of scrolling up every couple of seconds. That's their attention span. That's their way of life. Yep. And to then make it, here's our 2-hour presentation after 3-4 years. It doesn't really align with our culture. And I think that's where Hollywood is finding itself in a very difficult state right now, along with the fact that they're not presenting projects that demand our attention. So the solution to me is to get the audience involved a lot sooner, not just at that opening weekend when you're throwing $20 million to open a movie at the box office in P&A or prints and advertising, and hoping that everyone's going to show up, and hope that that the social media channels are not going to kill your reviews. So that model is very antiquated, and it doesn't fit with where we are today. And we also need new stars, new talent, and risk-taking in the way that the movie business was built on. And that's just gone away.
Wow, this is all quite interesting. I love this. I've experienced design by committee in many forms of business. So like I work in the web industry, and we always pick up some strange project where it's a big design committee that sit down and talk about how the website should be designed, and they have no experience in web design or anything. They just have to have their input, and the process takes forever, and we come up with some questionable decisions. But I love this idea of bringing in the end audience into that process really early and having them involved in the creation of whatever you're filming. That just makes sense to me. So how do you get the audience involved in the process early on?
I believe you have to get people involved from the very beginning of the project, and they become stakeholders in your journey, bringing it to the screen. And they should also be part of the decisions, part of the whole, because the process of making movies are so interesting, and that's what we've seen with YouTube, and that's kind of exploded. Everyone wants to be involved in the creativity. Everyone wants to, and if it's three questions I always got when working in the entertainment space, talking to investors, whether they're billionaires or bankers, or it doesn't matter, they all ask, "Can I be there when you're filming? Can I come to the premiere?" And they all want to be in the movie. They're asking, any parts. They want to be either they want to be a bartender, or they want to be a bad guy, or something. That is a romantic idea that motivates people from all walks of life. The magic of motion pictures. So, given that I've heard that question and had that request so many times, I figured might as well make that a reality and make that a real possibility. And once you go beyond those initial questions, people do care a lot about, which book are you going to adapt? Which character are you going to bring to the screen? Who are you casting? Where are you filming? I mean, all those things are incredibly interesting. And it's a business that's been reserved to the few people that are lucky enough to work in that industry, or lucky enough for the people that worked hard enough to get to that place or have the privilege of doing that. So that whole process, I want to make fully available and let the whole community be part of the rationale. They're not going to be part of all the decisions, because then you're making by a committee, but they'll have the full greenlighting power to greenlight what we're going to make, and then we have to go and do it. And then they will be part of the whole process.
I love this involvement. I have to say, I spent the majority of my viewing media on YouTube, where I'm watching people renovate homes or build a cabin in the woods. And, every day they're recording, uploading something, and engaging with the audience directly through the videos and asking, what should we do next? Like, how can we improve this thing? Or should I build another wall or a hut over here? And that direct engagement along the way is beautiful. It guides the storyline. It guides the creator what to do next, and it gives the audience exactly what they want. So involving this into film just really makes sense. And earlier you also said about TikTok, that scrolling culture where we only have very short attention spans, like 1 minute to 15 minutes. How are you going to combat that as well?
I think the same goes even for businessmen and investors. They take in more information by their cell phone than they do in these old school, long-winded presentations. It's become a part of culture, and it's very addictive, this element of the phone. What I'm offering is a alternative to that. I'm offering real involvement, real engagement with your feet on the ground, to be there physically if you want to, or be there virtually. And I want people to dig deeper, and I want to be a contrast to the way entertainment and culture is going. And it's easy to think that because we're called the Paso Verse, we're going to be in a metaverse. That's not the case. I have no intention of living in that realm. I want to do a real experience where you can have your own feet on the ground, feel the wind on your face, and be there and immerse yourself in this world, because that's my job
cool.
as a creator. I have to, when I read a book or read a script, I have to really believe and see these things. There was someone that criticized me in the past, in my past project, and they said, Ryan's gone crazy. He believes he's Morgan Kane. He believes he is this character. And I thought, yeah, I mean, that was my job. I was supposed to be in it. I was supposed to feel it and dream it and see what he saw. And that's the kind of talent that you want. You want people that are so committed, they're willing to give everything to it. Not just the people, in front of the camera. You want the people behind the camera to care about it that much. How the props look, how the set dressing is. People that have this, obsessive attention to detail in creating a real world. And that really comes down to the fabrics, the feel of the fabrics. And my job here is to convey that and transport that to the community, the people that are involved in it, that care about it, because then ultimately the audiences will feel that.
All right. I'm getting cold shivers just hearing this. Like, to actually be a part of that whole experience sounds absolutely amazing. And, I can't wait to see what comes out of this.
I'd like to make this as easy for people to step into as possible. The communication here is, and I'm going to continue to communicate this until people really understand what we're talking about, because we have to reinvent some thinking, because people come at this from a genre. People, when they hear the genre of the Western, that comes with preconceived ideas. When you hear the word movie, it comes with preconceived ideas. The same with the token space. If you talk about NFTs, it comes with preconceived ideas. So we have to reprogram a lot of thinking. And we like to put the technology in the background, and that's where EndMaker comes in. Patrick has a fantastic approach to this, because when I started last year, I started the first production, and we had to raise some money. I put in my own money, but I also needed to raise some from the community around me. And we were using OpenSea and Ethereum as the onboarding, which was a very tough onboarding ramp for people that don't know that world to get involved with. Because I had people that were trying to set up a wallet, trying to get an Ethereum account, trying to get all this done. And eventually they would just call me on the phone and say, look, can you just give me a bank account number and I send you the money and you send me the NFT later?
That's not good to hear.
No. So that underscored, and then also being able to move digital artworks from one wallet to another shouldn't have to cost money as you're setting up the project or you're distributing it to your stakeholders that are participants. One thing that's important in the way we're doing things is that it's important for all the people involved to have stake in the game. They can't just be paid a fee up front and have no participation in the outcome. That doesn't align with entrepreneurism, shouldn't align with the creative world. So a lot of our filmmakers and collaborators get paid with the same instrument as the one we're offering to the community. So they get paid with the collectibles. I took a part of my payment, or actually my whole payment, as collectibles, and with a lot of the people around me did the same. And we're going to continue to do that. People are willing to invest in the future, and that also helps us reduce production cost. And then everyone's participating on the same level of participation in the project, instead of many different levels where people cannot figure out what the back end looks like, what the points are worth, and who sits where in the waterfall. That's an antiquated model as well in Hollywood. So that has to be completely transparent, open, and clear.
I heard it mentioned that you're actually already filming and starting this kind of experience as well. Where you're at with this, like what's the roadmap look like? How are you guys going with everything?
We started production last year on the first 2 motion pictures based on a book called Cimarron by an author called Louis Masterson. And this author has sold 25 million books. It's a very exciting property that has the potential to be a James Bond of the West, Indiana Jones of the West kind of feel, where it's more like a Marvel type universe where different gunfighters come together in the same universe. So that's kind of set the tone for how we're building the cinematic universe. And we've we've done about a week of production, and in that time we captured a lot of frames and a lot of footage that shows an example of what this is going to look like. We need to go back to production, which will happen here pretty soon. But at the same time, we have focused on setting up a headquarter so we can continue to do this with a very high rhythm. We want to be able to premiere a movie every 30 days. We want to be in the rhythm of premiering a motion picture from this universe every month. And that means we have to get into a rhythm with multiple teams. We have to have a base of operations where we're amortizing the cost. We have to have a place where we can receive the creators and filmmakers to stay, where the community can visit. So in the beginning here, we're investing a lot of time and effort into setting up the kind of the base and the headquarters for El Paso Verse, which is called the Verse Hotel. And that's something we're going to be launching in the first phase here, is the Verse Hotel, involvement in or collectibles from the first two movies, and digital collector edition ebooks through book.io. Those are the three things that's happening at launch here. And we talked a little bit about my background coming into this. It's relevant because it gave me a lot of lessons as to what to avoid in the financial space, how to navigate the entertainment space, and how to really set up a structure that can last for the lifetime of a career. I mean, my goals here and my vision with this is this is a choice for the next 20 years. This is not something I'm doing as a project and seeing where it goes. I'm already 10 to 15 years in on this, given that I did my initial project that I took from a startup. I initially received $3 million in shareholder investments to grow the company, but that didn't come in one lump sum. It came in drips and drops of 10,000, 15,000 here. And me and my family were the second largest investors in the project. And we took that initial, so that was on top of the 3 million. And we took that initial shareholder investment and grew the company into a $100 million publicly traded company. So there was a big value creation there. That wasn't the end game. We were going for $1 billion company, and we were in an extraordinary position at the time of going public to get to that. But I just lost control and eventually ended up leaving after 9 months of going public. And what came out of that was suddenly there was a lot of attention to my name, and I was a bit of a mystery to many people because no one had really seen me talk publicly. There was no interviews with me. There was no YouTube videos. There was nothing to draw from. So it was very easy for someone to throw a lot of mud at my name and a lot of bad words to try to ruin my reputation to get me gone, because that's essentially what they wanted. They basically said, let's get rid of the crazy guy, the crazy creative guy, and let the professionals take it from here. And they believed that would increase the stock price. It was as simple as that. And I've seen this happen to many other entrepreneurs since. I wasn't aware that this could happen, but it did happen. And out of that, there was a lot of people that tried to tell the story of what I had worked on for the last 10 to 15 years, or 10 years at that time. And there really was no one that was in a position to tell that story, because no one had been with me on the front line. There had been a few people, because I had put in 29,000 hours of work into building that company and was the second largest investor with me and my family. And there was people around from the other studios that had put in maybe 5,000, 6,000 hours over those years. But outside of that, there was really no one that had seen what was involved. And I wish that I would have built in public. I wish that I would have shown the process that I had shown to only a few by making 2-hour phone calls every day. So out of that came a lot of public attention. I haven't really spoken to anyone since, because there was really no need to. I've been busy now building the project again and trying to get into a rhythm where this is now built in public. And at least now there will be a lot more evidence. There's been a documentary made about the whole process for the last 5-6 years that will come out probably next year on streaming platforms and in theaters. It's not my project. It's being made by other filmmakers that approached me after this. Then out of all this, for the last 5 years, I ended up deciding to continue and complete the vision I had started. And I ended up building several new companies. I have 2 companies in Switzerland. I have one in Spain and one in Florida. It's all part of the same group, of the Camara Group. to really address all the needs and set up a robust structure to build this in the right way. And the parent company is called Camara, which is based in Switzerland primarily. We have a big team of advisors and people that have helped build this vision, and many of these people came with me from the past, from my original company. But the people on the front line for El Paso Verse is really, I'm more on the creative side and the visionary side, but I do have a understanding for a lot of the other aspects that I keep a close eye on to make sure it gets delegated to the right people and attention, and work with a lot of lawyers. But the other person that's a key factor here in putting this vision together is Patrick Tobler. He has a very solid approach to how technology should be backing a project like this. He wants it to sit in the background, to be very easy to engage. It should be easy to buy with your Apple Pay, with your phone, with not. I mean, if you set up a wall, when you engage in this, the wallet should be in the background, like you don't even pay attention to it. And when you do want to dive into the wallet and get into the crypto space and tokenization, all that is there. But that's for those that want to. We're building this for the general audiences as well, not just for the crypto community. So we're from the very beginning planning to grow way outside the community here of what is Cardano, but we believe it's the right place to start. Also very essential on the team is Christian Ramirez. He's a set builder, art designer that has done, 50 to 100 movies in Hollywood, and is specialized in historic movies and certainly the Western. And he is very focused on the details, very passionate about recreating the whole ambiance of where El Paso Verse takes place. So he's one of the key people in putting this together with what we have to build, what we have to amplify in Almeria, and I'll get to that on the next page. And then we also have Michel De Beer, who's a real estate developer and operator of different real estate companies here in Spain. He's an investor, he's a partner who is going to be overseeing the real estate side. And then we have many advisors out of Los Angeles in the industry at large that have experience from major studios, from the A-list community, from advertising, like Alan Hunter, who is the president and I think co-founder of Petrol Advertising in LA. They handle all the marketing for Call of Duty and Modern Warfare on a worldwide basis, and they've been doing that for as long as the product has been around, I think. And then we have, so Alan will be guiding us as we hit the commercial entry of marketing our product. Jim Cardwell comes, I also worked with in my previous company, comes with a background from Warner Brothers, where he led the whole distribution arm of Warner for several years and grew it to a $6 billion company or global. I think it was $6 billion. I don't know. It's a long time ago, but he was basically in charge of 1,700 people. And Nick Cassavetes is an A-list director that's part of the consulting and founding officers here that was there when we set up the company and has been part of the guiding of this, as well as Heinrich Settelmeyer, who comes from the esports background and also the tokenization space in Switzerland. And it's through him that I met Patrick Tobler. And this is just a sample. There's many more people involved, but it's really good people that have been part of the whole journey as I've been building this.
There were some big names there.
Yeah,
you're being modest. This is a very, very good team and set of advisors that you have. So I'm looking forward to this.
No, good. These are amazing people. I've had the benefit of meeting many people over the years, and these are my first choices to best people I know for these different areas. And they also care about the project, which is important. They're in it for the right reasons. They're not just showing up when there's money and celebrating. Yep. They're there in the hard times. So then I'm going to go geographically here into where we are in the world. We are in Spain, in the south of Spain. There is a region called Almeria, which has one of the largest natural parks in Spain, and the natural park is almost like a desert rolling into the Mediterranean. It's a very beautiful place called Cabo de Gata, which is the national park there. But it also has a long history of Western movies coming back from the time of Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood. And they left behind all these Western towns and sets that are still standing today from the 60s. And these exist in 3 different places. They're called, they've been run as theme parks for the last several decades. And you see them on screen here. And I've been all around the world looking at where to do this. I've been in Mexico. I spent a lot of time looking at studios there, also in all over the US. I've been to Africa. I've been to the Far East. I've been all over Spain. And I've determined that Spain is the place. It's the best place for doing this. There's a lot of challenges happening in the US. There's you got everything going on with the unions right now, the actors and the writers. And that's nothing new. There's always challenges there because the system is having difficulty with the major studios and how things are set up. So there's a lot of advantages of being outside of the US. Also, the cost level in Spain is just a fraction of what it costs to make movies in California, for instance. And then Spain also has one of the most attractive tax rebates in the world, where you get money back from everything you spend on production. So it's of everywhere I've seen in the world, this is the best place where we have a running start, where we can start making movies right away. It's turnkey, it's ready, and there's a whole legacy of sets that we can just use for the initial IP that we have. And then once we used it up, then we will build more, and we will build more simultaneously. And herein is the key to what the El Paso Verse will become ultimately. And I'm not going to go into this today. This is a big announcement that's going to be coming. But this is the footprint of where El Paso Verse will exist and what that will mean, which will be a bit of an idea for some time until we really start explaining what we plan to do after 4 years. I think I mentioned earlier that the whole purpose here is to escape into the 1800s. In your mind, I'm not only thinking about the creative community, the collecting community here, or the financing community. My focus is on the entertainment experience that's going to come from this. And for many, that starts by reading a book. Then you start dreaming or imagining being in the place. Or it can happen with a movie. A movie will take you there. And we're going to have another level of that. When you visit these places, when you go there too, you will feel what it's like to be in this environment. So the whole theme of this gives people an alternative to escape the digital scrolling space of technology, to go to a place where it's totally different. And I want you to separate yourself from your iPhone and technology when you're here. It's a total escape. And that will be the approach for our cast, our filmmakers, for anyone that comes to visit. You'll be invited to really immerse yourself in a different world and escape from the rest of your life. And then once you leave, you can go back to your regular life. But once you're there, the whole idea is to not be so involved in technology. And that might sound weird as I'm talking to a technology group, but that's how, in the background, we plan for the technology to be, that you can be there and benefit and have this enjoyment without being a slave to the technology.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for me. I would have urges to reach for my pocket and pull out my phone to take photos and share my experiences. But I guess this is one thing where I have to sit back and actually just enjoy it and take it all in.
Well, I can tell you, we're filming everything on Kodak motion picture film, on analog celluloid film, and it goes to development at the film lab, and it comes back as a film print. So there will be, when you're at the Verse Hotel, there'll be a whole assortment of SLR cameras and point-and-shoot cameras that shoot on film if you want to capture your images there. That's one way to go about it. And but the whole filmmaking process comes from the analog part, which is it's really cool. Where the magic of motion pictures started.
Well, why did you opt for that and not just, the modern digital? Is it like an effect that you want, a different type of feeling that you get from analog?
There's more. The image quality can be argued what is better or more beautiful. Many people have had that debate, and I can see both sides. What's appealing to me is the amplified level of performance that's involved when you shoot on film. There's a different feeling for the performers, for the crew, that it really, really matters when film rolls through that camera. You can hear that film is moving through it. That time
Yeah.
between action and cut is such a magical time that you cannot replicate on a digital set. It's almost like a live performance at a theater. And that does something to everyone. Everyone's on their A game, and because everything's been rehearsed meticulously and planned and thought through, it's very hard to replicate that in the digital era, where you tend to just put up the camera and work your way backwards from, you look at the monitor, seeing how it looks, and then you start moving lights and everything to kind of make it artistically the way that it's pleasing to the eye on the monitor. Filmmaking is kind of in the reverse. You start by imagining the shot and drawing it and painting it with your eyes through the lens, and you just have to trust that you're getting it. And with that, you get certain imperfections, you get certain realities and certain things that you wouldn't get otherwise. And when you get to the editing part, you also have a lot less material, which is good, because as you know, editing can be a bit of a nightmare, and it's a much more refreshing process. But you have to work with people that really know what they're doing, obviously, because you have to capture the images right and trust that it's being done right and have confidence. And I think that confidence did something to the movies that we saw coming out in a time where those movies were shot on film. You look at the 80s and 90s, some of the golden moments of cinema, and those were captured with inferior technology, simpler technology, where the process was, some people have told me that, Ryan, you got to use the technology available to you in your time, and that argument can always be made. But you lose something when you start doing things just for convenience. Every time you try to do something that's easier or more convenient, it's less challenging to your mind intellectually. So I want everyone to be in their A game. I want them to feel that this really matters. This is timeless. And film is one of the things that helps make that happen.
Wow. It's thank you for sharing that insight. I had absolutely no idea. I thought you guys just point, shoot, and unlimited film and just keep on rolling.
Well, one addition to that is that special effects and CG and all the tools that we have gives us the ability to shoot anything in a soundstage nowadays. But there's something very different about being on location in the elements with a horse running and the dust kicking up, and that is very hard to replicate organically. And I think audiences are getting kind of alert to that. And the same goes with special effects. You do in-camera special effects instead. We do practical effects with blood squibs and real firing guns. And the art of miniatures is a beautiful art form that's kind of gone away, where you build miniatures to build your visions of a major town. So all those things to me is romantic and beautiful, and it's necessary for this genre, for what we're doing. It's the right choice.
I've seen many behind the scenes filming shots where it's all green screen or blue screened, and it ruined it for me. It really, really did. And I don't know how the actors can act the way they do when they don't have the environment around them. It's just mind-boggling to me. And I really wish I didn't see those behind-the-scene filmings of everything, because it really did ruin some of the ideas and the images I had in my head about it all.
Very good point. That this makes it a lot easier for the actors. I forgot to say that, but that's certainly true. It's easier for them to immerse themselves in the situation. So. It has a lot of advantages for us. And you'll see as we come to the last slides that is directly related to the collectible as well.
All right. What else have you got?
Okay. I'm not going to go so deep into this today, because the website will kind of take you through the user flow as it launches here. We're a few days, hopefully, away from launching the initial website, and we will keep working on that to make it more and more streamlined. But So the user flow is to direct everyone really to elpasoverse.io, where people should be able to log in with their Google account or social account. We want to make it easy. And then in the background, there will be wallet recognition and connection. And then the first thing I want people to do is to engage with the IP, with the books and the legacy of where all these stories are coming from, because we have several authors that between them have sold close to 500 million copies of books. There's a huge legacy of fan bases there. And then to engage in those, we will be selling collector edition books with book.io, which will set the tone for the IP that's going to be made and greenlit. And after that, we want people to really start collecting these unique collectibles. Every collectible is a one of one, so there's only one unit of each collectible. There's not going to be multiple of anything, so a lot of rarity. And it will also trigger a lot of trading, because if you're able to collect sequences, you will unlock certain rewards. And I'll get back to this on another site. But we will present the IP to the community. The community will decide what gets greenlit, what it will go into production. Very similar to how Lego Ideas, I don't know if you're familiar with Lego, and Lego has a site called Lego Ideas where they let the community decide what they want to see go into production. Very similar. Once it hits enough supporters, then we are compelled to make it, and we will make what the community decides. And in that process, once we get to production, we'll spend about 120 days on producing each motion picture. And once it's done, it'll be screened exclusively only to the community here for 120 days before it goes mainstream. So, and we will screen it initially. We'll have a premiere at the Verse Hotel in our own movie theater. There'll be an outdoor movie theater in Almeria. There'll also be an in-house movie theater in the hotel that you can, at any time when you stay in a hotel, you can use your collectibles to and you can basically tell us that I want to see the original film print projected in the screening room. So we will reserve it for you and your friends. And this will be the most exclusive screenings in the history of motion pictures, because the reverse is, like I said earlier, studios normally throw everything into opening weekend and hoping as many people as possible show up. We're going very focused, showing it only to the people that are involved, that care about it. And we count on that community to help us be ambassadors to market this as we roll this out in bigger markets. And we will roll it out in a roadshow theatrically in major cities and territories before it ends up on major streaming channels. But that initial window, that initial 120-day window, is only for the community. They're the only ones in the world who get to see this.
That's super exciting. I was just going to say, you're flipping the whole industry on its head.
Yeah, and we're able to recoup our cost in that initial phase. And it's not about these complicated waterfalls and equity that no one really understands anyway. We're putting the value that the community wants into their hands. It's all unique. It's all collectible, and it's where people want to be, from what I can see. And they will have extraordinary access and participation in every step of it. And it's something to be very proud of when it finally rolls into the roadshow and theaters around the world. You'll be in a prime position to invite your friends in those communities and in those cities as well. So there'll be special rewards all the way. And then where all this is leading up to is the El Paso Verse. And that's the one that we're going to be revealing later. But along the way, you're going to be earning pesos, which is pesos. It's a play on pesos. It's pesos. That's the currency, the digital currency that will live in your wallet, that you will grow, that you will be able to collect. Because ultimately, to enter into El Paso Verse in the end, the only currency there will be pesos. And the only people that will get access into that experience will be the community initially. So I talked about this as a concept that's coming. I think we're 4 years out from launching the El Paso Verse as a physical experience that's unlike anything else that exists in the world. And this needs a big level of financing that we're going to come back to when we're there. I imagine that we will have about 1 million people in the community at the time that we launch this. And we will probably do an IPO or an ITO, it's to be determined, but it's a big step in the roadmap. I want to talk a little bit about the community assets we kind of have here at launch. And there's two ways of splitting this. You can kind of draw a line at the bottom here, and you can say everyone at the bottom are collectors in the Cardano community and other communities and so forth. And everything above that are people that are interested in entertainment, people that are consumers, people that want to read books, that want to watch movies, that want to be tourists and go and experience these sets. So but both are equally important, and there's a lot of crossover between these. And what we have to build from are, first of all the original readers of all these books from all these authors that have sold 500 million copies, and it's almost 1,000 books. There's a lot of material to draw from, and that will spark new and creative ideas that will we will have to greenlight IP that the community wants. So that has to expand in itself. We also have to introduce those books to a new generation of readers. And that's part of the job with presenting these as books through book.io and also as audiobooks. And then we have everyone that comes to Almeria. Already today, I showed you those theme parks that today have a lot of foot traffic that goes to see it because of what was there in the past. We estimate that we'll have 250,000 people coming through El Paso Verse destination every year. And all the people that come there will certainly want to talk about it and share their experiences after they've been there. So that's will give us a word of mouth effect. And then we have the general media interest in these IP properties, in this project and in the related projects that already has had a lot of interest, and it's going to continue to grow as we roll this out, because this is pretty different, and it's a pretty different story. And then you have, every time we do a movie, you have at least 150 people that work on that production in their distinct field, whether they're a makeup artist, a costume designer, a cinematographer. All those people that create these productions are very proud and enjoy their work a lot, and they will be also very important in communicating what we're doing. And we can kind of already see that with the initial actors that we had in our initial productions, that these people are great ambassadors for what we're doing, and that goes for everyone that works on it. And then it's really about activating this community of in the Cardano space. And I'm starting with Cardano because I believe it's the right place to start, but we have to grow beyond Cardano, and I would like this community to be the launch pad. And then the steps to build a community of a million people, basically, which is the initial goal for the first 4 years, this is again a little more detailed than what we talked about. We're building this on existing valuable best-selling IP. So there's a lot of books to draw from, and we're going to get crossover where we're introducing audiences from one author into another one, and that will help us consolidate that into one place. We will have monthly releases of our motion pictures, so it'll have a very high frequency of premieres, and every premiere will be just like a major movie premiere, but it's shorter movies. They're about 30 minutes in length, which we believe is better for today's audiences than the 2-hour format. And it also goes to how these books were originally published. They came out every 2 weeks or every month. The author always would release a new book to their communities at the time. So it's the right rhythm of this. There will be a very interesting episodic series in the process of this that should give a lot of interesting perspectives and attention on the whole business plan. And I'll come back to that, but it's part of the engagement that will be given to the community that is on the site. So if you have access, you'll be able to see that. And then once we have, for every 4 films that we do, they'll be packaged up as 4 films into one, basically like you've seen with some Tarantino projects, or where they kind of bundle, 3 30-minute movie or 3 30-minute movies into one, and you have a 2-hour feature essentially. And we're going to take them out as, the first one will be called The Quartet of Death, and that will go out in theaters in major cities and territories around the world. And then ultimately we'll get to the end game here. A little bit about, I'm going to zoom in on this. So as I said, on the website, there will be all these famous authors of the genre that have been bestsellers, and the community will upvote and downvote which books they like the most and which one they want to see get greenlit first when that author goes into production. So whenever an author or a character, we probably break that into character as well, because many of these authors had, like Lewis Masterson has a character called Morgan Kane that exists in 83 books. he has another one called El Sordo that exists in 4 books. So this ranking system will decide which Morgan Cain book goes first, or also which one goes first by each author. So these are important to engage with to decide what goes next. And then we will be releasing ebooks through book.io as collector editions that will have certain redemptive qualities, certain origin qualities, and they will be basically the books that were published back in the day as bestsellers, but repackaged to a new audience, and they will also come out as audiobooks. And some of them will have special connection to ongoing productions, if like Cimarron is already in production. So if you look over on the movie side here, each project that has been greenlit will be offered for sale, where we're selling a certain number of frames per movie, basically images. We're selling specific images because every second on film is 24 seconds. So I mean, every second on film is 24 frames. So in a movie, you have every frame is unique, every frame is different. We are selling the collectible one numbered frame of each one. Each frame has a frame number. It has a time code reference to the film roll it was shot on. It says which camera it was filmed with what take it was. It has all that information in it on the actual collector edition. And then if you collect the right sequence, you'll be able to redeem this into the physical original film print, where we're cutting up the whole film roll into slivers, into sequences, which you can put in a light box, you can have on your desk, and that's the only version that exists of that film strip and all of those frames. And these frames will unlock many things, a lot of access. So essentially, we're taking the whole movie, cutting it all up, and distributing it on the community, and it's only one of each.
That's majorly cool. I absolutely love that. I've always wanted to collect an original frame film of something that I really loved and enjoyed, and have it hung up on my wall in a picture frame or something like that.
Yeah, and this is essentially your ticket to go see the movie. So when you go to the Verse Hotel, or when you also not the Verse Hotel, you'll be able to see it on your phone through your wallet. You'll be able to see the movie. So you don't have to be in Spain, but if you do go there and you get to go there, then this is your access to say, hey, I want to see the full original film print projected in your exclusive screening room. And we say, okay, here you go. And we booked the theater only for you. So that's pretty exclusive. And then the community will here decide which ones go next, kind of like Lego ideas, where they will support each one, and just by voting, basically. And then once it gets over 5,000 votes, or 2,000, I think it's 2,500 votes, then it goes into the whitelist open, and you can pre-subscribe to the upcoming frames, because it's a very limited amount of frames. So like the movie we shot now, we've been shooting these two. Most of the frames were already subscribed before cameras started to roll. The investors, the cast and crew, and all the people were subscribing to this. So there are frames from that will be offered, and it's all going to be offered in blind packs. So you don't know exactly which ones you're getting, but you're getting a certain amount, and there'll be bundles and offers. And then you can trade with the rest of the community frames that you need to complete your sequence. And if you can complete that sequence, you unlock these rewards.
Ooh, sounds hard. But see how we go with this.
Yeah. So this is, I can send you these pages. This will be on the website, but it's basically the whole philosophy of how we're doing it differently. And then this video will be available here, how we're making these motion prints. And here's an example of the previous production that basically 28,000 frames are so far captured, and they will go for a price of about €3 per frame, which is essentially the cost we had to produce that frame. Because to make a production like this, we spent about €70,000 that week that we shot last year, and each production will cost about $250,000, $300,000. We're able to do it for a fraction of the cost of what Hollywood would spend, for many reasons, which I will break down. But every budget will be transparent and available, and it really calculates just down to what's the price of each frame. So when you're buying a frame, you know that investment went into it. So we've talked today about phase one, the hotel, the collector edition ebooks, and the motion prints, and then a lot more will happen in subsequent phases. But that's at the launch. At launch, this is where we are. And in order to build a massive franchise, you need a lot of IP, and that's what Marvel has done very well. They have a lot of material to draw from, and we have an incredible library here but we have crossover from different IPs. It's just about replicating the model.
Ryan, this is a lot to take in, but I love everything that is being put together. The easy onboarding, the involvement of the community, the ebooks, the involvement with the voting and everything, and green lighting, what comes next, and all that's involved. I can't wait for this all to launch and see what it's all about, and actually read some of these books and some of this IP, because the Western genre is one genre that I've never really gotten into. So maybe I can get deeply immersed in this, especially when the audiobooks come out too.
Great. I encourage you to do that.
So where to now? Like, how can the community get involved and see what you're building?
We're going here to launch. Well, now we need to make the website available, offer the initial drop, which will be book.io bundle first. We're offering a bundle of 5 books, which are going to airdrop to you over a period of time, and which is the origins of the genre, basically, all collector editions. And then we will also offer initial frames from the initial productions. Then we will also offer to invest in a tokenization of the Verse Hotel. Those will all roll out over the next couple of months. I am going to now go and live on the property of the Verse Hotel out of my 4-wheel drive car, live in the rooftop tent, and basically present every opportunity and improvement that we have to do there to make sure that everyone basically can walk through and see what it is. Because we stayed at this hotel during production last year. We basically used the whole hotel for our own purposes, and we want to have it as our base of operations. And it's worth spending the initial time here in setting up that base so we can get into rhythm of keeping a very high output. So while my main passion is filmmaking, it's worth now taking, 3 months, 6 months to get the Verse Hotel fully set up to handle this kind of a rhythm. And we will invite the community to participate. And I think it's a very exciting opportunity that they should learn everything they can about. They should pay attention, ask a lot of questions, and challenge me on anything they wonder, because I'd love to drill down on anything. Okay.
Looks like I have to make a trip out to Spain. I think follow-up interviews are going to be quite interesting, because I'm assuming they will be on set or close to as well. So I'm really excited about that too.
Certainly. I expect to see you there.
Ryan, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast and learning all about the Paso Verse. I'm looking forward to the launch of the website and all these, the Book.io launch and everything else as well. So fingers crossed, I don't miss it like I've missed many others. But I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I would love to see you in the Paso Verse in Spain.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.